Welcome to Dreadful Visions, where we delve into the darkest depths of horror. Don't miss out on our terrifying tales. Subscribe now and join us on our journey into the unknown. Story 1: The Haunted Dorm Room. As a freshman in college, I was thrilled to finally have the freedom to live on my own. My roommate Sarah and I were assigned to a cozy dorm room in one of the older buildings on campus. Little did we know, our new living quarters came with a chilling history. It all started innocently enough. We spent our first few weeks settling into our new home, decorating the room with posters and photographs, and getting to know our fellow students. But as the nights grew longer and the semester wore on, strange things began to happen. At first it was just little oddities, objects mysteriously moving from one place to another, strange noises echoing through the walls in the dead of night. We brushed it off as the quirks of living in an old building, but deep down we couldn't shake the feeling that something was not quite right. Then, one fateful night, things took a terrifying turn. Sarah woke me up in the middle of the night, her voice trembling with fear as she recounted a chilling encounter. She claimed to have seen a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, its eyes gleaming with malice in the darkness. I tried to reassure her, chalking it up to a bad dream or a trick of the light. But deep down, I knew there was something more sinister at play. We tried to ignore it, to go about our daily lives as if nothing had happened, but the feeling of unease lingered, festering like a wound that refused to heal. Then, one night as I lay in bed trying to sleep, I heard it, a soft whispering coming from the corner of the room, barely audible above the hum of the air conditioning. At first I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but as the whispering grew louder, I realized that it was something far more sinister. I glanced over at Sarah, but she was sound asleep, oblivious to the eerie sound filling the room. With a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I realized that whatever was whispering in the darkness was not of this world. Terrified, I pulled the covers over my head and prayed for morning to come. When the first light of dawn finally broke through the curtains, I dared to peek out from under the covers, half expecting to see some malevolent spirit lurking in the shadows. But the room was empty, bathed in the soft glow of morning light, and Sarah was still fast asleep in her bed. I tried to convince myself that it had all been a dream, a trick of the mind brought on by stress and exhaustion, but deep down I knew the truth. Our dorm room was haunted, and whatever spirits lurked within its walls were not content to let us live in peace. Story 2: The Mysterious Disappearance. In my sophomore year of college, I found myself drawn to a group of friends who shared my passion for the supernatural. We spent our weekends exploring abandoned buildings, searching for signs of paranormal activity, and documenting our findings on camera. One night we stumbled upon an old mansion on the outskirts of town, rumored to be haunted by the spirits of its former occupants. Intrigued by the prospect of a real ghost hunt, we eagerly set out to investigate. As we crept through the darkened halls of the mansion, our senses on high alert, we began to experience strange phenomena. A sudden drop in temperature, the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty corridors, and a sense of unease that seemed to settle over us like a shroud. But it wasn't until we reached the attic that things took a terrifying turn. As we pried open the door and stepped into the dimly lit space, we were greeted by a sight straight out of a nightmare. A circle of candles flickering ominously in the darkness, their flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. In the center of the circle, we found an old book bound in leather, its pages yellowed with age and covered in strange symbols. Intrigued by the possibility of uncovering hidden knowledge, we began to leaf through the pages, desperate to unlock the secrets of the mysterious tome. But as we read on, we realized that we had stumbled upon something far more sinister than we had ever imagined. The book contained dark rituals and incantations, summoning spells designed to call forth malevolent spirits from the depths of the underworld. Terrified, we quickly closed the book and fled the attic, our hearts pounding in our chests as we raced back to the safety of the outside world. But as we reached the front door and turned to look back at the mansion, we were met with a sight that chilled us to the bone, the attic window glowing with an otherworldly light, and the sound of unearthly wails echoing through the night. We never returned to the mansion again, but the memory of that fateful night haunts me to this day, a constant reminder of the dangers that lurk in the darkness. Story 3. The Cursed Campus. As a junior in college, I thought I had seen it all, but nothing could have prepared me for the horrors that awaited me on the campus grounds. It all began with whispers, rumors of a curse that had plagued the campus for decades, whispered among students in hushed tones. They spoke of strange happenings, disappearances, unexplained deaths, and sightings of shadowy figures lurking in the darkness. At first, I dismissed the stories as nothing more than urban legends, the product of overactive imaginations and too much caffeine. But as the semester wore on, I began to notice strange occurrences happening all around me. It started with small things, objects going missing, strange symbols carved into the walls of the dormitories, and a sense of unease that seemed to hang in the air like a thick fog. But as the days turned into weeks, the incidents grew more frequent and more sinister. Students began to vanish without a trace, their disappearances leaving behind only whispered rumors and unanswered questions. Some claimed they had seen shadowy figures stalking the campus grounds at night, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Others spoke of strange dreams that haunted their sleep, filled with visions of death and decay. But the most chilling incident of all occurred one fateful night during finals week. As I sat alone in the library studying for exams, I heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. At first I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but as the footsteps grew closer, I realized that I was not alone. Terrified, I glanced around the deserted library, searching for the source of the sound. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a shadowy figure lurking in the shadows, its eyes gleaming with malice as it advanced towards me. I tried to scream, to run, but my voice caught in my throat and my legs refused to move. I was frozen in place, helpless as the figure drew closer and closer, its presence filling me with a sense of dread unlike anything I had ever experienced before. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving me alone in the darkness, with nothing but my racing heart and the echoes of its laughter ringing in my ears. From that day on, I knew that the rumors were true. The campus was cursed, and none who dared to tread its grounds were safe from the horrors that lurked within. Story 4. The Forbidden Experiment. In my final year of college, I found myself drawn to a psychology professor who was infamous for his unconventional teaching methods. Dr. Harrison was a brilliant but enigmatic figure, known for his unorthodox experiments and his fascination with the human mind. When I signed up for his advanced psychology course, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The first few weeks of class were uneventful, filled with lectures and discussions on topics ranging from cognitive psychology to behavioral therapy. But as the semester progressed, Dr. Harrison began to introduce us to a series of experiments that would push the boundaries of ethics and morality. The first experiment was relatively harmless, a simple exercise in memory recall that required us to study a list of words and then recite them back from memory. But as the weeks went by, the experiments grew more and more disturbing until they reached a climax with the final project of the semester. Dr. Harrison called it the Forbidden Experiment, a study designed to test the limits of human obedience and authority. He divided the class into two groups, prisoners and guards, and assigned each group a set of roles to play in a simulated prison environment. At first, we were all eager to participate, intrigued by the prospect of taking part in a real-life psychology experiment. But as the days passed and the lines between reality and simulation began to blur, things took a dark and sinister turn. The guards, emboldened by their newfound authority, became increasingly sadistic and cruel, subjecting the prisoners to psychological torture and physical abuse. Meanwhile, the prisoners, stripped of their dignity and humanity, descended into a state of despair and hopelessness. I watched in horror as my classmates transformed before my eyes, their personalities warped by the power dynamics of the experiment. Dr. Harrison, far from intervening, seemed to revel in the chaos, observing the proceedings with a detached curiosity that sent shivers down my spine. But it wasn't until the experiment reached its violent conclusion that I realized the true extent of Dr. Harrison's depravity. In a fit of rage, one of the guards attacked a prisoner, leaving him battered and bruised on the floor. And instead of calling an end to the experiment, Dr. Harrison simply watched, his eyes cold and calculating as he recorded the events unfolding before him. Terrified and disgusted by what I had witnessed, I confronted Dr. Harrison after class, demanding answers. But he simply shrugged off my concerns, dismissing them as the ramblings of a naive student. In the end, I dropped out of Dr. Harrison's class, unable to reconcile my thirst for knowledge with the moral ambiguity of his teachings. But the memory of that fateful semester still haunts me, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of academia. If you have enjoyed watching this video and are a fan of horror stories and scary things like this, please subscribe and comment down below any suggestions as to what you would like to see on this channel. Thank you for watching and have a good day.